Hey everyone, welcome to Alive with OKclarity.com, the live experience that will bring you clarity on Victim to Victor. This is today's topic, Victim to Victor, 5 Secrets to Transformation. Tonight's live stream will be 30 minutes long. At around the 25-minute mark, we will pause for a Q&A. If you have any, please post them down in the chat below. You can post them throughout the presentation. You can drop them in the chat anytime. I won't address them until the end, unless it's a really good question. A quick and important disclaimer. Everything discussed tonight is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Emphasis on entertainment. And none of it is a substitute for professional mental health, wellness, medical, or financial advice. So let me just tell you a quick thing about me. I just actually became a PsyD. Thank God I graduated, Dr. Benson Fox. I've been working as a life coach and I've been a PsyD candidate for the past 5-6 years. And I help Jewish men achieve joy, balance, and growth. I help people become friends with themselves. And yeah, that's enough about me. All right, let's jump right into it. Let's talk about victimhood for a minute, because that's the problem we're looking to solve here today. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this term, the Victimhood Olympics. Basically, based on gender, race, ethnicity, that's on a societal scale. They make a hierarchy based on how much a specific group has been victimized, how much they've been abused, hurt, neglected throughout history. Here's the problem with that, right? You're getting your power through your weakness, meaning your biggest strength is not what happened to you. It's what you are. It's your nature. It's the soul that God infused inside of you. And yes, we get challenged and we get hurt by our trauma, etc. We all do. But we don't want to be defining our strength, the strengths that we have through our weaknesses. And that's not what we want to have our power be gleaned from, right? Another problem with this type of mentality, it kind of encourages you to focus on the problems, not just your strengths, but also lack of gratitude, lack of appreciation, what you have in your life. You're only seeing the blame, you're only seeing the bad, and it stops you from growth, because since you're always pointing your finger at others, you're not able to then take responsibility and make the changes you need in your life. It stops you from growth. It keeps you paralyzed and wallowing in negativity and paralysis. Not a good thing. So, right, this victimhood type of mentality is very prevalent, very pervasive in today's world, growing, and everyone wants a piece of the pie of victimhood because in it they find power, and it gives them an excuse for laziness. There's a lot of problems with it, but let's move on from the problems. Let's move more towards the solutions, because, right, we know this is a problem in today's politics. We know it's a problem in the culture. We know it's a problem across the board. However, let's move towards a solution, because we want to find a way to break through our problems. We want to leave behind the sense of false power that so many of us, many of us observe, but we can become tempted ourselves to get this easy, quick, false sense of power, and try to build this bright future of healing and growth we all want for ourselves, for our children, etc. If we're stuck in this, then we're going to have, God willing, we all have, we'll have children or have our own children now. And do we want our children, we're going to tell them, clean the dishes. And what are they going to tell you? They're going to throw it in your face. They're going to say, dishes? Yesterday you yelled at me, and now forever and ever, I will hold this against you. So there's a lack of forgiveness. There's a rigidity. There's a blame. There's the paralysis. There's lack of gratitude. There's an entitlement. False sense of power, defining yourself based off a weakness, not a strength. So many problems. All right, let's get to the solutions. So, as the title suggests, we have 5 secrets we're going to share with you today to help us get past victimhood and not kind of succumb to the temptation of, that it gives you, to not have to work hard to get these benefits that victimhood gives you. So let's talk about 5 key secrets. But again, the first one is just simply taking responsibility. There's a certain point of a person's life, when you're facing I find that a child, I just had a child, thank God, 4.5 months old, Moshe, and I can't describe how much sense of responsibility I feel towards him. And like the things before that I had no motivation to do, suddenly I have motivation to do, doing dissertation, I buckled down for 2 months, I got it done. Thank God, but without that being there, I feel like it was really hard to motivate myself. So what am I getting at? I'm getting at this idea of taking responsibility. You need to take responsibility, number one, for yourself, number two, really for your family. And you have to be in a place, you have to find different ways to motivate yourself to take responsibility. And one way is like we said before. Maybe think of it. Would you want your kid to take that attitude towards you? If you don't want your child to treat you like that, and every flaw and failing you had towards them, they will always hold it against you and hold that as a power over you. If you don't want that, then don't do that for others. Don't do that towards society. Don't do that towards your family. See, that's one way to motivate yourself to take responsibility. Another way is just, you see your own children. Again, I think children is the main way to motivate a person to make the changes they need to, because sometimes we're just not motivated enough for ourselves. We've already given up for ourselves. We have not yet given up on our children, I hope. So number one, take responsibility for your life. Stop pointing fingers. You have to reach a point where you're an adult now. It's whatever happened to you was terrible, etc., etc., etc. Take responsibility for you able to make better life decisions today and build that bright future for yourself, because no one else will do it for you. So you be the one to take control of your life. Don't be a victim, be a victor. Be someone that you're the one who controls your life. You're not going to give up that control to those who hurt you. You're going to take control or neglected you, and you're going to take control, and you're going to make the right decisions today and make that change that you need to. Number two, so number one, take responsibility. Number two, take the initiative to heal and grow. Meaning, don't live your life always reacting to what was done to you, right? When you had a dream, you're a little kid, I want to become a firefighter, I want a policeman, or whatever else the hero, I want to become Superman, right? Many times we let go of those dreams. Why? Because we're reacting to the different demands on us, and then we end up like kind of being pulled by life away from what our true desires are in life. To be there, to be a family man, to be, build wealth for my family, but also to be present for them. I go on and on. But the point is that stop being reactive and start being proactive. Be proactive to heal, proactive to grow. Yes, you need to get through your daily demands of life. But if you need to take that responsibility, part of taking that responsibility is also taking that initiative. Don't wait till that person comes over to you and asks you for forgiveness. No, go over to them and take that responsibility. Oh, you're right. Even if you're 80% on the right and you're 20% on the wrong, go over to the other person and take that 20% that you're willing to take responsibility for and own it. And don't demand that they do the same in return. Right? This is about becoming a great person, about taking control, about becoming a person of forgiveness and gratitude and responsibility. This is what's required, and people that don't, you have the right to do that, and you'll stay stuck in your life. So we don't want that. We don't want that kind of black hole of victimhood. Take responsibility and take that initiative. Don't just react. If they come to me and they say nice things to me, then I'm going to be willing to let it go. Then I'm willing to heal. Then I'm willing to grow. If they come to me with a good program, then I'm willing to do something. Don't wait. Don't wait for other people. Right? Heal and grow. Take the initiative. Be proactive. Number three. Today's world is a big movement towards predetermination. Basically, everyone's about the neurological, the biological, and everything's, every diagnosis you had, it's because your brain is shooting off neurons, etc. Genetics. And I don't doubt that that we are all a combination of nature and nurture, right? Of partially from our environment, what we were given, how many needs are met, how much we were hurt, etc. But also, Hashem gave us a soul and a body, and those things have natural tendencies, I would say, or predispositions. So we need to make this big distinction between a predisposition and a predetermination. A predetermination just means that it's for sure going to. This is for sure going to happen. This is your genes. There's really nothing that you can do about it. So that's not a Torah hashkafa. Everyone has bechira. Everyone has free will. You have a choice. A predisposition means you have a natural tendency, and some people have a natural tendency to do things that are forbidden in the sense of stealing. Some people can have a predisposition to do averos, you can do predisposition to do things that are unhealthy, that have bad character. There's always things that you could have this predisposition towards. But you're not doomed to living that life. You're not stuck in that. That's not a death sentence. That's not a lifelong sentence. This is something that God tested you, He gave you this challenge, and now it's your job to take responsibility and take control of your life and come up with a plan of how to fight it, to combat it. Not just to succumb and give into it and see it as, oh, this is just how I was made, and therefore I feel the urge to do this, so therefore I will just do it. We're not animals. We have the ability to deny ourselves this, to not give into weakness and etc. and temptation. Famous philosopher, there's a big debate about what free will is. And one, idea really that I thought was very clever, there's the idea of free will and there's the idea of free won't. What does that mean? Meaning, even if you don't feel like you have the strength to proactively take the initiative in your life, you can at least have the free won't, meaning the ability to deny your predisposition to do something that's forbidden or unhealthy to you or others. You can say no. You're not forced. Your natural tendencies cannot force you to listen to them. So I just think that's a very empowering mindset. You need to distinguish between predisposition, things that, yes, you have a tendency, doesn't mean you for sure have to do it. Nope. Right? Predetermination doesn't exist. Right? It's not in the Torah Hashkafa and not in therapy either. And for your mental health and for having a good soul, be connected to God, not a healthy mindset, and not a true mindset, not accurate, not precise. Number 4, gratitude. There's two pieces to gratitude. There's appreciation of the good, right? You valuing it, seeing it as important, allowing yourself to even experience it, to notice it, I would say. That's all one category of gratitude. And there's another one of attribution. So we have one of appreciation, appreciating the good, and then we have of attributing that good to Hashem. And that's really a critical piece in gratitude. And if you want to get out of this victimhood mindset, you need to balance it out. It's not enough to just move away from blame, shame, and pointing fingers and entitlement and etc. You need to move towards valuing the good in your life and this attribution, attributing that good to God. Because valuing that good is going to, you're going to feel wealthy from appreciating the good. You're going to feel loved if you attribute that good. So appreciation leads to you feeling wealthy, feeling a sense of abundance, if you will. And that's that appreciation part of gratitude grants you, but the attribution part of gratitude, going to make you feel loved, like it makes you feel connected. The opposite of addiction is connection, right? The opposite of when you feel connected and loved, there's a sense of resilience you're going to feel that's going to allow you to overcome all challenges, up to and including victimhood. So number 4 is gratitude, noticing all the little things in your life. Realize that the world, God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, and whatever you want to, however you want to say it, the world owes you nothing. God owes you nothing. Everything you had as a gift, you started with 0, absolutely nothing, and everything was granted to you out of love, out of compassion, out of mercy. And that was all the past things. And going forward, you're still owed nothing. So when you have that mentality, when someone grants you something, it's an act of love. Then you could allows yourself to feel loved. If you feel entitled to everything, then you don't feel loved when someone gives you something, because it's just fulfilling an expectation. Fulfilling an expectation is not going to amplify that relationship. What's going to amplify it is when they transcend it and they go beyond it. And that's when Ava Mechalkelis as Ashura. Love, when you love blurs lines, but also when you communicate that the lines are being blurred, that also increases love. So in our case, if you communicate that Hashem is going beyond our expectations of Him by giving us everything and anything, then the bond that creates with God makes us that we feel so loved that we're not so also needy towards others. We're not needy for this false sense of love, maybe that we get from feeling the victim. Oh, I feel so bad for you. I feel so, that compassion can feel like love. We get real love from God through gratitude, through not just through appreciating, but also attributing. That can really reinforce us and protect us against this victimhood mentality. So that's number 4. Number 5. In order to move beyond this victimhood mentality, it's very important. You're eventually going to have to forgive the people, forgive yourself, forgive others, forgive God even, yes. Which I love to emphasize. It's all 3. You're going to all interrelated, and all 3 you need to forgive when you go through a trauma. And in order to get to that forgiveness, you need to move towards something. You can't just be leaving something behind. It's kind of like when you're on the monkey bars, right? It's very hard to swing to the next one if you don't feel like there's something there. You're not going to let go of the bar that you're on. You need to see something. I'm trying to get to the end of this. You need to look and be able to see the end of where you want to end up to then start swinging from one bar to the next, to go along kind of the rungs of the ladder up to, you need to see the light at the end of the tunnel. You need to have that motivation for that. So you need to be moving towards something. It's very important to build yourself a trajectory, a plan, 1 year, 3 year, 5 year plan of what you want your life to look like. And you need to see is this victimhood, it says, the Mishnah, Mechashiv Schar Shal Avero Keneged Hafseda, right? You need to see the Hafsed Avero Keneged Schar, right? You need to look at the benefit of having this in your life, this mentality, versus how much will this hold me back from moving towards a big, bright future for myself, where I realize my dreams, I self-actualize my potential, and I live a life of fulfillment, of joy, right? Is this fake victimhood mentality, is this really going to get me there? Is this really going to be an asset? Is it going to facilitate the process of achieving it, of my goals, of achieving my aspirations, or will it hold me back? And I promise you, it's going to hold you back. It will leave you bitter, resentful, in a very negative, paralyzed state. And so we need to move towards something. You need to have this vision, create that plan, and really, the Bali Musar are very into this idea of koach hatzir, using the power of imagination, kind of every day, kind of reimagining what is this mission that I have. In ACT therapy, we also have this. Am I living in sync with my values? Is this going to lead me to the person that I'm trying to become? So if you have that vision, I think then you're able to live behind a lot of this weakness of this victimhood mentality. Last but not least, a bonus one. So be a 5. I said, promise you 5. I'll give you a bonus. Bonus one is you need to validate, process, confront, and then let go and move forward. Meaning, oftentimes when you have a sense of victimhood, it is a very much of an internalized sense of pain that's been infused in you, of anger, of shame, of aggression, of resentment, right? And it's become really entrenched and infused and intertwined, seemingly inextricably intertwined into your psyche. And we need to figure out a way of transcending it, of leaving this behind, of moving beyond this. So how do we do that? So once something becomes so entrenched, you're not able to just forgive and let go of it. It will not work. I promise you this. It will not work. So what will work? What will work is you need to give yourself a space to experience the anger. Confront the people you need to confront in your life. Let's say it could be a parent didn't treat you well in a certain area. You need to say that to them. You need to go to them and say that to them. But you're not saying that to them to, number one, you're not trying to hurt them. You're not trying to, it will hurt them, but that's not your intent. You're not trying to get back at them, and you're not trying to blow up the relationship. Chas v'shalom, God forbid. What you're trying to do is you're trying to reconcile this for yourself. And in order to do this is part of the process. You need to give yourself that safety, that sense of security to move beyond your anger. You need to allow yourself safe space to experience it with respect, with dignity, with authenticity, to give your anger its due for a time. And it's going to be very tempting, just like this victimhood mentality, to hold on to it. So yes, behind that victimhood is anger, and behind that anger is resentment or humiliation. You need to confront the bully. You need to confront the parent, the sibling, the uncle, the coworker, the boss, whoever it is in your life, the sibling, whoever it is in your life that's caused you to feel so. You need to confront them. Or if it's with yourself, if you're feeling this internal tension, you need to be able to give yourself a respect and not a shame associated with allowing yourself to feel that anger. Shame-free, guilt-free anger, and to give it its respect. And then transition away from it, and then towards reconciling it, addressing it, and then moving on from it. Right? Coming up with a way to feel it and to give it a plan and a time frame. And now it's time to move on. Now it's time to let go and release. And maybe you can't do that fully, and that's normal, and I could appreciate that. But over time, slowly, right? Healing's not yes or no. Forgiveness is not yes or no. Nothing's really yes or no. Everything's kind of on a continuum, a spectrum. And it's very important for us to be on that continuum, to first give it its space, and then to let go so you can move forward to your big, bright future to realize your goals and aspirations. So again, just to summarize just the quick 5 things, we said take responsibility, take the initiative to heal the growth, be proactive, not reactive. Distinguish between, number 3, distinguish between predisposition and predetermination. Right? You always have bechira, you always have free will. You can have tendencies, you're in control. You're in the driver's seat. You'd have gratitude, and there's 2 parts to it. Appreciation, which gives you a sense of abundance, and attribution to God, the source of all the good, and that gives you a sense of feeling loved. And then we said number 5 was move towards something in order to be able to leave this victimhood behind. Number 6 is you need to give it its space for what the pain that's behind the sense of victimhood. You need to give it its space. But at the same time, then you need to move on from it. And the way you move on from it is you need to have a vision of what you want to become. And we have in ACT, we have in many other things. You need to say, is this the person I want to become? And if it's not, then you got to leave it behind. Let me just address one common counter argument, and then anyone who has a question, please, you can drop it in the Instagram chat at any point. But one, I think, core resistance that many will have, against one objection people might have to this presentation is, but I am a victim, right? Well, you told me to leave my victim behind. I was victimized. Someone either abused me, neglected me, hurt me in a way that was unjust, that was not fair to me. I did not deserve this. And I was grievously hurt. And I was hurt in a way that I can never fully recover from it. So, and I have so much lost time and I have so much of my lost potential that I mourn it. So I am a victim. So you're telling me to live in not reality. You're telling me to just ignore it, ignore the fact I'm a victim. What is my advice to someone that, that's saying it was legitimate, it was a real grievance, and we have this idea in Chazal, something called Tarumas, of idea of a real complaint against someone. And we have idea of Mechila, that we're not obligated to be mochel someone if they cause us permanent harm, right? If someone was ruined their reputation, etc. So what would I say to someone? 3 things. Number 1 is that everyone is a victim then. Because to different degrees, this they call big T trauma, little T trauma, meaning traumas that people see as dramatic, that's really, people say will give you automatic compassion. And there's ones that oftentimes like neglect, that people don't, so what? They didn't do their homework. So what? They didn't have dinner ready for you. So what? They forgot your birthday, for the 15th time. So what? Those aren't appreciated as much. So understand that everyone's a victim to a degree. And are we really going to live in a world where everyone feels this entitlement to demand things from the world and hurt others, lash out, etc., because they feel this sense that I am a victim? So understand that maybe you're right. Let's say you are right that you are a victim. Do you want everyone's a victim? To different degrees, but everyone's a victim. So what type of world would we live in the world that you would describe, and that you're a victim? Everyone's a victim. So now everyone's, again, this Olympics, it's a toxic, it's creating, I should say, or has created to a degree, right? A toxic culture, one of entitlement, a paralysis, of resentment and negativity. So we don't want to live in that world. So we have to move away from it. Even if what you're saying is true, we still have to move away from it. Number 2 is don't define yourself by what happened to you. Define yourself, again, like we said, yes, you were victimized. That doesn't mean you are now a victim. That is a label. Like, I have certain objections, let's say diagnoses in certain cases, etc. Don't define yourself by your problems, by your weaknesses. Define yourself by your strengths. Don't call yourself a victim. Call yourself a victor, right? That's transcending it. Saying, I'm not a person of pain and suffering. I'm a person of resilience. I'm a person of victory. I'm a person who has overcome I have post-traumatic growth, not post-traumatic stress. Even not post-traumatic stress. I'll say I'm a person who has benefited overall from what I have went through. Define yourself in that way. Don't define yourself by what happened to you, your weaknesses, the problems. Don't define yourself by reactive, proactive. Define yourself by who you are, not what was done to you. And number 3, you may be less of a victim than you think. And this is a little bit more controversial. This is not a therapeutic setting. This is a presentation, so I will be a bit more direct. Take responsibility for the role you played. And I think this is a little bit touchy. But many times, even let's say a person can get bullied, there are times usually you were annoying to those kids on the bus. That doesn't justify that we did at all. But you need to recognize and take ownership of the role you played in it. So sometimes when we claim victimhood, sometimes it's a way of escaping responsibility for the role that we played within it. It takes two to tango. I'm not saying it's impossible. You could be the one case, you're the exception to the rule, but overwhelmingly, it takes more than one person. There's more that the responsibility is shared, right? It says Moshe and Korach were the only people that was literally mamish 100 to 0 in terms of the distribution of blame. So after that, it was always shared. So make sure that you're owning what you need to own. So when you define yourself as a victim, I'm just arguing is that you're somewhat a victim, but you're also somewhat, liable here for the role you played. And I think that victimhood can distract you from that. So number one, it's universal. So therefore, everyone's a victim, and therefore it becomes not meaningless, but it becomes something that would become toxic for culture if we all adopted it. It'd be you're less of a victim than you think because you haven't owned or been taking responsibility for the role you played. And it's not something you should define yourself based off. Define yourself based off of what you're good at, your strengths, who you are, not who you're not what was done to you. It's, positive things. So that's a wrap. We started a few minutes late, but definitely put questions down. If I'm just gonna give us a good 15 seconds now in case anyone has any questions. They could just drop it in the chat on this topic of transcending victimhood, going to become a victor. 5 secrets. So I'm just gonna pause for 15 seconds to see if anyone has any questions. They could just drop them in the chat here. Any questions? If anyone wants to say any questions at all, they could just drop them in the chat. And you could still post your questions. I'm going to wrap up now. If you have any questions, you could still drop them in there. I hope tonight's conversation provided some clarity. See what I did there? On victim to victor, 5 secrets to transformation. And I hope you walk away with, I want you to take responsibility. Number 1, take the initiative to heal and grow. Number 2, number 3, distinguish between predisposition and predetermination, right? You always have free will. You always have that choice to go against your natural tendencies. Number 4, appreciating the good versus attributing the good to Hashem. Appreciation gives you a feeling of abundance, very important. But then I want you to go beyond that, transcend to attributing the good. It makes you feel loved, which will give you that much more resilience. And number 5, we said was, you got to move towards something, not just away from something. You got to go towards something that makes it worthwhile for you to leave your victimhood behind. And lastly, we said to address, give it a space to feel the feeling behind the victimhood, address whatever needs to be addressed, confront those you need to confront, but then with an eye towards and eventually transitioning and transcending to forgiveness and over time letting it go, on a spectrum and on a continuum, but slowly letting it go and forgiving. So thank you for being here. I hope you guys benefited. I really hope you could definitely check me out on OKclarity.com if you want to learn more about what I do as a life coach and now as a PsyD, doctor of psychology. And I look forward to spending time with you all again very soon. All the best, everyone.